Tuff, Tiger Talk, Flash Report.
All right, shout out to the fam. Appreciate y'all being in the episode of Tuff Tiger Talk recap stream. The Tigers go down 27-16. McElroy from ESPN said there would be an upset, and he wasn't lying. LSU came into this matchup here, man, flat as a pancake, very sporadic. And at the end of the day, the offensive line, which allowed some positive things in terms of the rushing attack, completely collapsed toward the back end of the game. Nussmeier sacked several times in the game and could not find the target at certain points of time. The guy just, his eyes dropped and he held on to the ball too long. That's a side effect of just getting knocked around. And whatever magic they thought they had put together for this team is noticeably gone. Nussmeier completely, especially toward the back end of the last three games, has completely fell apart as a quarterback. I mean, I can't put it all on Nussmeier. It's decision-making, being slow, the poor and pathetic operation of the 2-minute offense toward the back of the game, very laughable. But at the end of the day, LSU gets what it's supposed to get, which is its third straight loss. They lose to a 9-ranked Florida team who's playing with a lot of passion. They improved to 5-5. LSU falls to 6-4. With 2 games remaining, one up against Vandy and the last game of the season up against Oklahoma. They'll finish the regular season not being able to reach 10 wins, which is going backwards, which is pretty much on par for what I thought this team would be. I didn't really think this team showed some positive stuff, but starting the season off, I didn't really have high expectations for this team. It was kind of revolving around some of the players. We know who our running backs was going to be. Nussmeier, I have a kind of a conservative look at Nussmeier as a quarterback. I don't think he's nearly as good as the guys that we've seen that preceded him. And really, I was looking past this team, not being disrespectfully, but looking at the wave of players that LSU will have next year. Well, it's just, you're looking at that fantastic class. So this is kind of a rough patch for LSU this year, but this is pretty much what a lot of people like myself thought that it would be. So, yeah, this is what it is. And I kept hearing the guy kept repeatedly regurgitating the talking point about Nussmeier being ranked as the 4th quarterback in this NFL class. And I'm not really surprised by that because this class is not really all of that, to be honest with you. So anyway, next year is supposed to be the class. But anyway, in this one, fam, not a good effort by LSU. They scored only 16 points. They're 3-3 in conference play. They had very thin hopes of basically keeping their title hopes alive, so to speak. But now on a 3-game losing streak, all but just collapsed whatever they thought they had. And you can see it's just, I don't know what to tell you on this one, man. All I can tell you is just these guys fell apart. And unfortunately, it is what it is, man. But at the end of the day, LSU lose yet again, and it's par for the course for how this team has been looking, man. So, especially over the last 3 weeks. So McElroy, we posted that on the channel. He picked them to lose. He picked LSU to beat them, and they had a quarterback with hamstring issues, and LSU just couldn't. He was able to beat them with the same damn guy. I don't know. Y'all make that make sense to me. The guy kept targeting the same wide receiver, and they act like they couldn't do a damn thing with that. So I don't know what you do with that. But anyway, let's hit some of the team stats to finish out the game on the Tuff Tiger Talk recap stream. 25 first downs versus 13 by the Gators. Gators did what they were supposed to do. You see, LSU was 13-24. The Gators were 3 of 9. That's crazy. 4th down, LSU 2 for 4 is not nearly enough. 382 in total yards versus 339. The passing attack, 262 for LSU versus 226 by Florida. They averaged almost 9 yards per throw. Nussmeier, man, 48 attempts. He averaged 5.5 yards per throw. Everything, the great majority of everything was underneath. The running attack, LSU did it decently. They had 44 carries for 120 yards, but only that was less than 3 yards a run. So 44 carries, 48 pass attempts only net you 16 points. 113 rushing yards by Florida on 17 carries. All the efficiency is just glaringly obvious. Some of these statistics and attempts, LSU almost doubled Florida's attempts, but yet Florida had all the efficiency. Like I said, 5.5 yards per attempt for LSU throwing the ball on 48 attempts versus 26 attempts. They had 13 out of 26 for almost 9 yards per throw. That's almost a first down every time the guy threw the ball. And then if you look at Florida's rushing stats, 17 for 113, average 6.6 yards per rush. 7 penalties for 55 yards for the Gators versus 325 by LSU. Of course, we know about the turnover LSU received. And they did have, think about this, the time of possession by over 41 minutes, but it didn't make a hit spit of difference that Florida had it for 18-12 and still won the game 27-16. Very interesting. Very interesting, no matter how you look at it. We'll try to bring the post game by Coach Kelly. I'm pretty sure he'd be kind of pissed off. He looked kind of upset. He looked kind of upset, man, to be honest with you. During the post game, talking to Gus Nussmeier about where he was throwing the ball. Nussmeier, 27 to 47, 260, 5.5 yards per throw on 47 attempts is ridiculous. He did have one touchdown. DJ Lagway, guy with hamstring issues, was 13 to 26 for 226, 9 yards. Man, could even move around, but he did enough to keep them balanced, and he had a touchdown. Caden Durham, 20 carries for 91 yards, 13 for Josh for 69. Those guys have a good carry rates, but Nussmeier really hurt them. He single-handedly reversed what they had done in terms of what he was trying to do, whether it was scrambling or getting sacked. He was a minus 46 in the rushing attack and a minus 5.1 average to hurt them ultimately to bring them down from where they were to 2.7. On the other side of it, Jaden Baugh, running back, 6 carries for 65 yards, had a score, and Jacoby Jackson had 6 for 37 for a score. So they were able to move the ball from the rushing standpoint. LSU's top guys couldn't get going. Kyron Lacey, 3 catches for 43 yards. Aaron Anderson had 7 for 72 in the score. Mason Taylor, 6 for 59. CJ Daniels, 3 for 32. Couldn't help out. Elijah Badger was the guy that badgered them. 6 catches for 131 yards. He averaged almost 22 yards a catch and 1 touchdown. The guy was throwing to the same damn guy. And they just like, oh, we don't know what to do. The guy was targeting the same damn receiver, and they could not make the adjustment. So, I mean, it's just one of those classic situations by LSU in which they just, once again, continue to fail. So, anyway, we'll bring up Kelly as soon as he's available. And then, of course, Garrett Nussmeier had 2 fumbles. Emory Jones Jr. picked up the ball like a running back, then fumbled the ball away. And as you can see, man, it just went down. So it was all nothing as Trey Smack, he had 2 for 2, kicking 50-something odd yards. You knew that they were working their way. And Florida, a team that was basically a sub-500 team, was able to get back to respectability, at least 500 by beating LSU. And they will fall completely out the top 20 where they belong. They suck. And like I said, am I really mad at what I'm seeing by LSU? If you go back and listen to me coming into the season, my thoughts on LSU this season, I really didn't have high hopes for this team, really, to be honest with you. I really didn't think that much of Nussmeier, and now you see why. They didn't really have a running attack. Caden Durham emerged from a uncertain running back room several games ago. Kyron Lacey is seen as one of the better wide receivers in the game. I don't see him as such. I don't see him as one of the best wide receivers in the game. I kind of see Kyron Lacey still is very inconsistent as opposed to some of his counterparts that he had. I just don't see that from him. So plus the defense had questions. They had a lot of change on the defensive side of the ball, even though we knew you have certain players that came in like Wes Weeks kind of emerged there. Then we had just injuries that hit the team. But prior to that, I kind of looked at the team, a lot of question marks defensively, a lot of question marks offensively. We did have a very good offensive line when they come motivated, but in the end, I did not expect LSU to be a team that would compete in the very difficult SEC. As you've seen, The last 3 games, Texas A&M, Alabama, and now Florida, LSU is on a slide to nowhere. Now they do have Vandy coming up, followed by Oklahoma, and they'll probably end up winning those games because the pressure's off for them to do anything. They're not going anywhere. So watch how they play. And this is a side effect of teams where they aren't championship teams when you put a lot of pressure on them, and then when the pressure's off, they can play free. These are not teams that is supposed to go anywhere, right? We've seen it in the NFL. We've seen it with like a team like Carolina. They're playing better because nobody's expecting them to do nothing. They're bad. So they just want them to play, have fun, and there's not no heavy expectations on them. It's the same thing with this Tigers team. Like I said, my vantage point was me looking beyond this year into next year with this awesome draft. I mean, this awesome class that they're bringing in. This recruit class that they're bringing in, along with some of the pieces that'll be left from this year. With those pieces from next year, we're expecting some really superstar level football at LSU once again. That's what I was looking at. Not to be disrespectful of this team, but I never really truly had high expectations for LSU. I know you guys probably didn't either. They showed a few things, but in the end, when the games that matter, the tough games against Texas A&M and then against Alabama in LSU, how would they react? They fell apart. They looked shitty in Texas A&M. They fell apart against Alabama. The guy ran over him. And now you got a guy who had a hamstring issue, who couldn't even move, still threw for 200 plus yards and a touchdown. And then they operated a balanced running attack to be able to beat them. Plus that Florida defense got after LSU. 6 sacks on Garrett Nussmeier. This great offensive line that we're supposed to have couldn't do shit later on in the game in Florida. That crowd got into it. And it was over with. It's over. So they lose 3 straight late in the year. That basically, whatever slim hopes they had, I think they said it was like 11% hopes for a title shot. A bunch of teams will have to lose for me to worry about. Now we don't have to worry about none of that crap. Now we know that LSU is not as good as the last several teams we've seen. They're right where they're supposed to be. And they have Vandy coming up next. So that's pretty much what it is. They go down 27-16. We'll hear from the coach momentarily. He'll get up on the podium and talk about what he believes was the problem. Why did we lose? What happened? Now, outside of that, I say all that to say this in the recap stream, fam, is that it is going forward next year. Like I said, LSU, the next 2 games, I expect them to probably split. I don't know about the Oklahoma game. But then again, like I said, with the pressure off, they'll break the streak against Vandy. They'll have a competitive game against Oklahoma. They probably beat Oklahoma. And then they'll have a bowl game, some bowl game that really ain't hitting on shit. It ain't nothing. And they'll kind of try to fill out on a 3-game winning streak for the end of the season. So in the end, it's just indicative of what we've seen. Coach Kelly, this probably in a long time, we've seen Coach Kelly as frustrated. Like he had these games. We was at Notre Dame. He sustained a lot of good success. This guy's always won 10 games a season for a long time. This is the first time in a long time that he will not get 10 wins in a season. Losing to USC, losing to Texas A&M, losing to just losing 4 losses in a year for LSU. 4 losses in a year. That's something that we haven't seen that in a while. But losing to USC at the start of the season, losing to Alabama, losing to Oklahoma, and then losing to Florida, this is the worst one of them all because this wasn't no excuse. I mean, Alabama, we can get some of that. Texas A&M, we understand to a degree. But the Florida loss, that's a whole different affair, fam. When they lost to Florida and Florida just basically with their defensive line got in there and knocked them around, the guy would, like I said, I can't reinstate this enough. Is the fact that the guy had a quarterback back there who couldn't even scramble. He had a hamstring issue. He was a standing duck back there, and LSU couldn't even take advantage of that. They couldn't even rattle the guy. The guy couldn't even move back there. He couldn't take off and run. Could you imagine what this game would look like if that guy wasn't hurt? He would have towed their ass up back there. So it just shows you this is a different loss, almost to the exact effect that LSU is like, man, this is a very low loss, and he needs to rail on those guys. This one right here, he needs to rail on them. like he did against the USC loss when he got there and he pounded the table and he was pissed off and upset losing to USC and opening the season once again with another loss. How much do you guys bet next year LSU won't be opening that goddamn season with a top bid? I bet you they'll open up with a cupcake next year. Better open up with a cupcake. But yeah, Blair, yeah, you're right. When Underwood comes here, man, Underwood is going to be awesome, man. Underwood, like, this is a phenomenal quarterback. He'll be here. He'll bring some level of excitement. We can peace out Nussmeier and get on this goddamn bus and keep trucking. But like I said, man, at the end of the day, it's not him. It was just the team was a very incomplete team with a lot of incomplete things. The offensive line was probably the only thing you could talk about. The tight ends was solid. But outside of that, the defense had a lot of questions. Once again, we spent a lot of money on the coaching staff. A lot, bro. Tons of money on the defensive coaching staff to get Baker here. Get Baker down here. And then they basically retooled the defense. You know, you had the linebackers coach, the defensive line coach, the secondary coach. All these guys cost a lot of money. And and then the offense just doesn't work. It's just a lot of stuff, man. It really is. But like I said, man, at the end of the day, it's simply this is what a lot of people anticipated, man. So I'm not very disappointed about this. It's pretty much what I really expected at the start of the season. All right, so big ups to the fam. Y'all got any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. We'll have Coach the coach to chime in momentarily. He's waiting to get to the podium. And all I could tell y'all, man, is that watching this game is a problem. But we can't seem to get good football here. I guess shout out to Tulane. I think Tulane won today. So shout out to Tulane. I think Tulane handled their business against Navy. They took care of business at Navy. They were in the top 25. LSU got knocked out of there. They were 22, and an unranked opponent that just got back to 500 will floor them completely out of the 5 rankings. They won't see that shit again for the rest of the year. But in the end, man, like I said, man, it was a very concerning loss. And he's probably in there bitching and complaining at him right now. So until we get to him, let me kind of go to the scoreboard as it stands right now, fam, with the top 25. We got 23rd ranked Missouri right now. We're in the fourth quarter, about a little less than 5 minutes. South Carolina beating them 27-22. Missouri has the ball and is marching. Of course, 3:39 in the first quarter so far. San Jose State is leading Boise, number 13 ranked Boise, 7-0. You got Arizona State up on Kansas State. We're gonna go to Coach Kelly, and here he is. Let's see what he got to say about it. Put one in the chat if y'all can hear, fam. Here we go.
Well, obviously very disappointing. Not able to do enough things to win this football game. Ineffective offensively in terms of too many negative plays and the inability to finish off drives. That in itself is what's apparently part of our problem. And then the explosives on defense. So giving up explosives on defense and negative plays on offense, when you're playing in this league, in the SEC, where it's a razor-thin margin for victory and defeat, if you don't have a clean performance in that sense, you're going to struggle. And we're in that phase, unfortunately. We're struggling right now in terms of execution, consistency. I thought we found a way to run the ball much more effectively today. But again, it's you have to finish off drives. I mean, I don't know what the time of possession was, but it was ridiculous, right? 42-18. And I think first downs maybe almost 2-1 in terms of first downs, but that doesn't win you games. You got to score points, and our inability to score touchdowns and score points continues to crop up. And as coaches, we have to take responsibility. Players have to own their end of it. And we are in the situation that we're in because we're largely not effective enough in those two areas: negative plays on offense and not finishing off drives, and then defensively giving up the explosive plays. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And our team's got to make a decision, how they move forward. And we've talked about it, and I'm pretty confident they know what needs to happen in terms of their mindset. And again, we keep working on the deficiencies in which I've highlighted. So with that, we'll open up the questions.
Wilson. Brian.
Yeah.
It seems like today you were holding your play sheet more regularly throughout the game than you maybe normally do. Were you more involved in the offense in this game than you have been in the past?
Well, I think when things don't go well, the head coach has got to be involved. And that's not to say that I don't have full faith and trust in my staff. I do. But the buck stops with me. When we lose a game, I have to be able to look at the reasons why, and quite frankly, I feel as though in my background and how I was developed as a coach, I feel like it's get involved. And so, yes, I've been more involved in everything that we're doing.
The amount of hits that Garrett took tonight, how concerning is that?
I look, some of it, obviously we're concerned to the point where we want to keep our quarterback clean. But we have to look at it in its entirety. Did the ball come out when it needed to? Did we protect the way we needed to? So anytime the quarterback gets knocked down, everyone's going to have to look at, what did we do and what can we do better?
You ran 92 plays. You found a running game. You possessed the ball. Have you ever been in a game like this where you dominated so many numbers except touchdowns? No,
this was unique, but we know the reasons. It's the inability. We can't keep taking points off the board. We had a silly mistake on a touchdown. That we're better than that. And drives have to be converted. You can't just continue to move the ball up and down the field and not convert it to points. They don't give you a pat on the back because you had the ball longer or they had first downs. And that is, in a large degree, making sure that everybody is doing their job. And that's why I have to be more involved in what's going on. It's not – I have to be able to figure out how we can help our players get through this. This is a rough spot for them. But we got to help them, and as coaches, that's what I have to do.
Colin.
Randy, can you point to anything why you're not able to finish? I mean, you had a number of third down conversions, you converted a fourth down.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at each drive, some of them were, we had some negative plays leading up to the actual third down. As I mentioned, we had a touchdown taken off the board, which had to turn into a field goal. So it's a myriad of different things. But at the end of the day, a lot of that is you have to have players that make plays down in that area of the field. And that means everybody. From the quarterback to the left tackle to the wide receiver. And we haven't made enough plays down in that area.
And you talked last week, Brian, about trying to get them back up and remind them what they have to play for.
Yeah.
How do you reinforce that this weekend?
Well, this is really a simple exercise of, do you want to fight or not? Do you want to fight and take responsibility as coaches and players that we're not playing well and we're struggling right now? So it's life. It's a myriad of things, but it's a reflection of what life's about. There's a rough spot here that we have to fight through, and we got to do it together. So if you're not a thumb pointer, if you're not somebody that's saying, I'm going to work and continue to work to be better, then we don't have a place for you in the last couple of weeks. But if you want to fight and you want to keep working to get better, then we're going to be alongside of you. But at the end of the day, it's about overcoming adversity and fighting through these last two games that are at home that we desperately want to win.
Bryce?
Kind of playing off of that, you mentioned obviously learning some things about these guys. Does this really give you an opportunity to learn really what the mindset and the psyche of this team is going into the next two games, and how you can build upon that in the offseason?
Well, it's going to point out those that are not fighters So we're going to put guys on the field that want to fight and they want to do everything they do to correct where we are right now. And that is struggling with consistent execution. And I've pointed out a number of times, negative plays, inability to finish off drives in the end zone, and then the explosive plays on defense. They're pretty consistent now. I think we've seen them enough to know what clearly we have to be better at as coaches and players.
Right.
It's correct that you held Swinson and Brian out of the first quarter.
Yeah, that was my decision.
Just a coach's decision.
Coach's decision.
I don't care to elaborate.
And I don't care to elaborate.
Wilson.
Right, it's really, I guess, that sort of demarcation point for the offense that this really has been since halftime of Texas A&M.
Yes, it has been.
What, obviously, there's a lot of things that go into it, but it just, I guess, what do you point to as sort of, even though like you found the running game in here, like why that nothing has quite clicked, I guess, in this area?
Yeah, look, if I had the magic bullet for that, we would have already pulled it, right, and used it. But, you know, look, everything that we do, we're challenging. Everything that we look at, we're challenging. And that's what you have to do when you're struggling like this. And you find ways to make things simpler, maybe. Less offense is more. That's why we got into more of a running game mindset, and we'll continue to do that because we have to be able to eliminate the negative plays and convert when we get opportunities in these short fields. And like I said, the prolific offenses, players make plays in short fields. You just make plays. We haven't made enough plays down there, quite frankly. And so we have to look at it as coaches. You know, we're getting the guys to the places where they need to be to make those plays. And then, again, eliminating some of the negative plays that have led up to stalling some of those drives.
We have time for two more shots.
All the talk about the running quarterbacks you've gone up against, but it seemed like they kept him in the pocket all night. Is that what they
Yeah, I don't think that was an issue. I don't know that we went into the game thinking that would be a particular issue with DJ. We think he's a thrower of the football. He's capable of running, certainly. You know, look, I mean, we could go over every play in the game. But, you know, again, I think that they made some plays. They played well. And we did not do enough to eliminate some of the mistakes that have been haunting us the last couple of weeks.
Corey, last one.
Ryan, just kind of a follow-up from the earlier question. You saying you're being more involved. What does that mean exactly? What does that look
Well, I mean, like, listen, anybody that has a business or organization and you're not, you know, getting a profit at the, you know, you put yourself on the street, right? You know, everybody is working, you know, and putting in the time, and the head coach has got to be part of that as well. So whether it's a business or it's football, coaching, you know, you can't sit and say, well, it's the coordinators. I mean, the head coach is ultimately responsible for the success of his football team, and we're not successful these last 3 weeks. And so you got to get involved. And obviously, I wasn't good enough tonight, but we're going to go back to work and we're going to look at the things that we need to get better at. And we're going to keep swinging, and we're going to have 22 guys out there that are going to fight for LSU and play hard these last 2 weeks at home.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, that's Coach Kelly, man. He was on the pitch count tonight. Guys got him the hell up out of there. That guy kind of had him on the pitch count. He didn't want those reporters to start getting at his ass. That guy was like, Drew, how many questions? What, like 5 or 6 questions? Usually we get like a good, you know, good 7 or 8 or 9 questions from him. But yeah, man, when you start seeing stuff like that, man, Sharp, this is not good. Losing to Florida, man, this is supposed to be definitely a win. But them losing to a sub 500 Florida team that you would basically over the last several years, LSU's been dominating with a quarterback who can't scramble, who was basically a statue in the pocket. You know, that just doesn't bode well. And for him to make mention of that, the fact that he wants to have the guys, what do you call them, a thumb pointer, guys that only take responsibility. I guess that's what he means by that. At the end of the day, man, all I can say, man, is that it's just this not looking good for Coach Kelly. I don't think he's going anywhere. I'm not saying that. But this team is just what it is. I mean, they've had several games during the year, man, where he constantly has to question the mental intestinal fortitude of this club. and that's a strong indication of a weak team, and it's just what it is, fam. You know what I mean? When you have a team that you are, as a coach, you have to constantly, constantly, constantly question or check or try to get these guys to step the hell up and do something, man. Yeah, man, it might be time for, some of these guys to go early. So I wouldn't be surprised if Coach Kelly has a bunch of different guys out there, running them out there to see what they got and all this kind of stuff. I wouldn't be mad at that at all, man. Start setting up for next year. This team is cooked. It's over with. When you lose to a Florida team, man, we've been dominating Florida. I'm going to say it again. Florida had a quarterback that was hurt. The guy had a hamstring issue. He had a freaking thing wrapped around his lower left leg. He could not run. He had to stand in the pocket, and LSU couldn't take advantage of that. They still allowed him to. It's just insane. The offensive line is supposed to be the strongest thing for LSU in terms of a unit. They couldn't keep Florida's defense off the quarterback. And it wasn't like Nussmeier was having a terrific game anyway. I mean, the last 3 games against against tough opponents, the guy has shown that he can't handle it, which is it's a surprise. And it's not, I guess it's not really surprising because I've already know who Garrett Nussmeier is. He's a gunslinger. He's a gunslinging quarterback that if at certain points of the game, he can get hot and make throws, but he pressure wise breaks down. He breaks down. Just like most, par quarterbacks, he breaks down, but he's hot. But this offensive line is supposed to be a really good offensive line. So he's blessed by that. And then at the end of the day, it's just what it is, man. LSU losing to a sub 500 team after dominating them. And it's just, they're falling apart, man. They're falling apart. And for Coach Kelly to get up this late in the game with 2 games left and says we need guys, or if we got a guy, we want guys here. So obviously he knows there are guys on his team that ain't about that work. And my question to you is, Coach Kelly, you should already knew that, man. You should have knew who you had that was about putting it together when the team lost to Texas A&M. Because remember how it is, just how the losses happen. The loss against Texas A&M, right? Then what happened? They go on a bye week. And to lick their wounds, whatever you want to say, and they had an extra week of preparation for LSU. So that means they had an opportunity for guys to get rested. And then for them to have an extended look like they do every damn year we play Alabama. We go a bye before it to give us some time to rest, and also to be able to have that extra preparatory time to go at a scouting report, game plans of how to beat the damn team. Then they go against Alabama in Death Valley, and what they do, they lay one of the biggest, nastiest, stinkingest, funky ass egg that you could possibly imagine. They lay it at home. They get literally the brakes beat off them in their own building, right? And if that's not worse enough for you, then when they come back the following week against a team that's a sub 500 team that had issues, they were just made nice with Billy Napier, who had not had a winning season in the 3 years that he's been there. And they're talking about firing his ass. But then again, the AD for Florida says we're going to give him 1 more year because DJ Lagway and the rest of these guys spoke up for him, right? But the reality is they had all that going on. You lose to Texas A&M, you lose to Alabama, and then you go to Florida and score 16 points against a Florida team that we historically, over the last several years, have beaten into the ground. And then you come out in the press conference and say, I only want thumb pointers, which means guys that'll say it's on my fault, I'm taking responsibility, which is something he should have known in a Texas A&M loss. Hell, he should have known that in the USC loss. Which are these guys about the business of winning. So at the end of the day, like I said, man, this team is going to perform better now against Vanderbilt, against Oklahoma, and ultimately we'll get with the whatever the Outback Bowl or whatever the Poinsettia Bowl or whatever the bullshit bowl they get. At the end of the day, LSU as a team, they'll probably win these games because the pressure's off for them to do anything, because that's how, mediocre teams are. They can't win when the pressure's on, but when the pressure's off, they start performing really well. So, I would caution Kelly just to set up. You're not going anywhere this year. You're not getting, it's a bullshit bowl you're going to end up playing in. So you might as well kind of set talent for next year. Get guys in there for next year. When you get Underwood, a real quarterback, they can be able to do some stuff. But anyway, with that being said, I'm going to cut out on that, man. Listen, I appreciate you guys for giving us a love on this Saturday afternoon, man. LSU goes down 27-16 to an unranked Florida team who's now 5-5. The Tigers have lost 4 games this year. They're now 6-4 and 3-3 in conference play with 2 games remaining in the regular season. Whatever 11% slim percentage of chance that they had to have to play for a SEC championship, a bunch of teams will have to lose to open the door for them, is over. So LSU is officially eliminated from whatever that is, and it's their own fault. Right? So that's responsibility. That's taking responsibility. Anyway, OG got a question. You think Brian Kelly getting Dennis Allen treatment? No. Oh, hell no. Brian Kelly's not going anywhere, man. He's not going anywhere. Coach Kelly's not going anywhere, man. Because we know that the team, the real team that he's building is next year. That's the team. That's the team. You get all this top flight talent. Go and look at the recruiting list of what LSU has done. Plus, you add that to who they'll have left over from this year's team and the inflow of recruits they get next year. Watch how LSU's team look next year. That's going to be the start of something special. Notice Underwood turned down, what was it, $10+ million NIL deal with Michigan. They was trying to steal him from LSU. And he turned it down to stay with LSU. Man, it's going to be a nice year. Now he's going to step in out the get-go, and he'll have just a bunch of talented. They got a bunch of people, wide receivers, running backs, tight end. Fam, listen, LSU's next year. That's the team. That's the team. Not this year. That's coming into it. When I was doing all the recruiting news and looking at it, that's why I was looking past it, because I already knew who Nussmeier is. I knew. They had a lot of questions coming into the year. How would the defense respond? The coverage angles, all this kind of stuff that was going on with the defense that we seen last year. We knew the line would be okay. We knew the tight end position would be okay. The wide receivers guys had to step up. I never had a big grade on Kyron Lacey. I thought Kyron Lacey at time was a little Kyron lazy to me, because he had the size, he had the talent. He was inconsistent last year. He did better this year, but he's not on par with guys that we've seen that were top-notch wide receivers at LSU. Let's keep it all the way funky. There's times when we've seen Anderson, who was that look a lot better than he did. The transfer from Alabama came in here and made plays. What Kyron Lacey wasn't, man. Come on. Where was he tonight? So anyway, like I said, man, with that is what it is. 27-16 LSU goes down, fam. Listen. We'll return later on in the week, man, as they get ready to go against Vandy, and basically use this time when I kind of talk about the Vandy game. But what's to talk about there? Anyway, let's move into the rest of the scoreboards before we get ready to leave up out of here, just to kind of let people know. Look like South Carolina is going to get a win over Missouri. 34-30. South Carolina's ranked 21. LSU's 23rd. They have 9 seconds remaining in the game. Boise State right now in the second quarter losing to San Jose State 14-0. And Boise State's ranked 13. So we might have a surpriser going on there. San Jose State up by 2 touchdowns, and they're marching to score right now. So this is very interesting. Of course, and then Arizona State up 7-0 on the 16th ranked Kansas State Jayhawks. And Arizona State is marching. Oregon right now, the number 1 in the nation, is taking on Wisconsin. They're up 3-0 in the first. Tennessee, 7th ranked Tennessee, is facing off against Georgia. The game just started. It's 0-0 score. New Mexico State and 15th ranked Texas A&M will be kicking off momentarily. Washington and New Mexico will be later on this afternoon. Later on this night. So it's Kansas and BYU. And then here's some of the finals. Ohio State, number 2 in the nation, beat the Northwestern team 31-7. The 3rd ranked Texas Longhorns beat the Arkansas team 20-10. It was a little battle there. They came out to win. Penn State, number 4th in the nation, blow away Purdue 49-10. The 8th ranked Notre Dame squad took care of business against Virginia 35-14. Alabama all over Mercer 52-7. 38-28. The 14th ranked SMU team beats Boston College. The 17th ranked Deion Primetime Colorado team was able to take care of business against Utah 49-24. As Travis Hunter strikes that Heisman pose, he know what's coming. The upset alert here, just for Stanford, beat the 19th ranked Louisville team 38-35. Clemson, 20th ranked in the nation, beat Pittsburgh 24-20. And of course, we know our squad lost today. And Tulane, who's ranked 25th in the nation, beat a Navy squad 35-0. So shout out to Tulane. Tulane is about to get, they got one more game left, I want to say, for the season where they'll get 10. They're undefeated in the American. They're 9-2 on the season. They're 25th ranked in the nation, and they beat the Midshipmen today 35-0. Mensa, the quarterback, 10 for 14 for $138 and 2 touchdowns. Hughes, the fantastic running back, had 22 carries for 82 yards and 2 scores. And Fleming's, the wide receiver, caught a couple of passes for 56 yards. Shout out to Tulane. The real team, they're putting in some work and doing some stuff where LSU is not. Anyway, with that being said, fam, that'll be the show for today, man. Hope we had a little bit better news for you guys than that. But unfortunately, our team goes down in a heap. 3 straight losses. They have now lost 3 games in a row. They're now 4 on the season, man. And then, of course, like I said, 2 games remaining against Vanderbilt. LSU comes back home for those final games. Vandy 6-4, LSU 6-4. Both teams are 3-3 in conference play. And the way they're playing, you never know. You expect them to beat Vanderbilt, but you never know the way this LSU team is playing, man. They might actually lose the game. You never know. You never know what the hell going on. But anyway, with that being said, we're going to get out on that, man. I appreciate y'all, man. Please feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for Tuff Tiger Talk recap stream. And listen, man, we're going to holler at y'all on the next one. Keep your head up, man. It's a lot of football left. Not for our, good football. Talking national football for LSU, of course, that's out the door, but we got a lot of future football, right? So it's always something to keep our heads up for, right? Anyway, we'll holler at you on the next one. Much love, peace, and go Tigers.